Hello, everyone. As you have heard, I'm Verena. I have been Hurtigruten's chief scientist for the last 4 years. And in Hurtigruten, I won't tell you very much about the company because you have heard everything you had to hear from Karin this morning. But I do want to stress out that we feel it is our responsibility to promote the long-term conservation of the places that we go to. And therefore, we follow national and international laws by regulating all of our operations. As Karin mentioned, we are members of IAATO and IAECO and follow all the guidelines. And we focus also on our guests. We promote also, or we offer safe and environmentally responsible operations. We also focus on our guests better understanding the areas they are visiting and why it is important to their conservation. And we focus on the enrichment and education of our guests. And that is why we have developed our science program that, in addition to the traditional lecture program, we have included activities that, with the help of tools, we can offer more hands-on experiences to our guests to better understand the concepts, the environments, and the possible threats to the areas we go to. We have also included citizen science projects or participating in citizen science projects into our program because, as the example you see on the right demonstrates, citizen science is a very efficient way to collecting data when done properly, as this biggest database for biodiversity online database shows 50% or more of the observations have been contributed to by citizen scientists. In this regard, we have also given a work opportunity for some scientists that work for us on a permanent basis. We have created permanent jobs for marine scientists, for ornithologists. We have created a position called the science coordinators who oversee all the science activities on board and make sure that the lectures are linked to the activities and so on. And we have also designed science centers, what we call science centers, that have been specially designed, but also specially equipped with microscopes and museum-type exhibits that allow us to do or to have these hands-on experiences. And we have sampling material like plankton nets, CTDs, Secchi discs, and some remote sampling equipment as well. And this all facilitates the research on board our vessels, in addition to increasing the educational opportunity for our guests. Also, an important part of our science program are the collaborations that we have established in the past 4 years. And in the following slides, I will give you some examples of these collaborations. Penguin Watch is one of them, led by Tom Hart from Oxford University. And this program has installed a wide network of cameras in Antarctica and the subantarctic islands. And we help with the maintenance of this camera network by transporting material required for this purpose, but also by having what they call the penguin counters on board our ships that not only engage with our guests and do outreach, but when we are landing in the penguin colonies, they go and do penguin counts, like the name says. But we also encourage our guests when they return home to participate in the online citizen science project called Penguin Watch on the Universe platform, where they can contribute or help identify penguins, eggs, and so on in the thousands and thousands of photographs that have been created with this camera network. With the Norwegian Institute for Water Research, we have a long-term relationship that goes beyond our science program. We have been working together with them also along the Norwegian coast, where they have ferry boxes installed in some of our coastal ships. And MS Roald Amundsen was our first expedition ship to get a ferry box as well. So the ferry boxes allows for the continuous sampling of oceanographic data. And in particular, this one has a microplastic collector, which we can use everywhere we sail. And we do regular beach cleanups with our guests when we see that the beaches are crying out for help. And together with NIVA, we have implemented using the NOAA protocol to do a more scientific beach cleanup. We count what we find, we record everything, and all this information goes back to NIVA together with some samples. Other samples are also brought back on board, and we use a small pocket-sized near-infrared scanner to determine the polymer of the little fragments of plastic that we bring on shore with our guests. And this is just to start a conversation around the plastic problem around the world, not only in the oceans. And then the information that NIVA gets, it's translated into more precise results on what is the origin of all the plastics found in the beaches. Another collaboration we have is with the UK marine mammal monitoring charity ORCA. They send cruise conservationists that have been trained by them to monitor marine mammals. They engage with our guests while monitoring the marine mammals from deck. And this allows our guests to have an active role in marine sciences and conservation, and also helps ORCA to fill gaps in the deficient species information. We are also working with them to create whale strike mitigation strategies to train our bridge teams. But also, this coming Antarctic season, we will support them together. They are involved in a project together with BAS to also for whale strike mitigation, particularly humpback whales around South Georgia. California Ocean Alliance, they do research from whale research from our vessels. They have several projects ongoing. One of them is studying the impact of ship and boat ambient noise or underwater noise on the behavior of marine mammals. They are also collecting images using drones to determine the general status of the whales. They are collecting biopsies. And this coming season, they will also include another project which will try to determine the impact of boat approach in the different species of whales or in their whale behavior throughout the season to determine if, for example, the stress status of the whales is impacted or is different, or the impact of a boat approaching is different depending on their stress levels. With the Western Washington University, we have a collaboration studying snow algae in Antarctica. Dr. Khan is using a combination of methods which include ground observations and sampling, using also drones to collect photographs, and using remote sensing imagery from satellites. And her goals are to ground truth these satellite images. She wants to collect snow samples to determine the black carbon content And she is also thinking of developing an app that can be used not only on our vessels when she is on board, but on board other vessels, so that this is an industry effort. And we are also thinking on expanding this project to the Arctic. With UNIS, we have a project called Cruise and Science, and here is this project is collecting climate sampling, marine samples, and this to monitor the climate change in the Svalbard area. This project, or the results that are collected, the data that is collected from this project do not go to one specific project, but are used in many projects in UNIS. The main goal of this project is to introduce our guests into the scientific protocol so that they understand it better. And they help with the data collection. UNIS students come on board our vessels and do this sampling together with our guests, and the samples that are collected are later analyzed in the Science Center together with our guests. With the University of Tasmania, we are supporting 3 projects, 2 of them involving marine mammals, whales, observations on our routes to and from Antarctica and South Georgia. And they will study sea ice seals in this coming season. But the one that I wanted to mention is this citizen science project, or social science project that wants to study the effect of citizen science participation in the Antarctic experience. So it's, as I said, citizen science is popular. It's becoming more and more popular, and we are not the only ones offering citizen science projects participation on board our vessels. But we do want to know exactly what the impact is on the visitors into their overall experience, Antarctic experience. And we want, with this support or with this information gathered from this project, we want to design activities that will allow us to maximize this positive change in our guests. And after this project, the University of Tasmania will provide us with a full report and recommendations on how to improve, if we need to improve. And they will produce media pieces to reach a broader audience. And the results will be also presented in conferences and published. And I hope that with all of this, I have convinced you that, yes, cruise vessels are an ideal platform for research in remote areas, particularly where we have heard that it is expensive, difficult to get to, and very challenging because of the rough conditions. 2 minutes. It also allows, since we are in these areas for prolonged periods of time, it allows for spatial and temporal data collection, and it is an excellent opportunity also to offer an additional educational opportunity to our guests by having scientists on board or by participating in the citizen science projects. So my last question is, how can we help? And if you want to, if you are interested, you can reach out directly to me, but you can also reach out to AECO and IAATO, because this is a industry effort that needs to continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfectly timed. We do have time for questions. Michiel.
Yes, thanks a lot. It's a very interesting presentation. Yeah, like I'm aware that citizen science and science and tourism is an increasing trend, right? Could you also say something about the challenges? because like personally, I see the benefits also for the user experience, but there I think are also limits and challenges involved in this.
Yes. One of those examples is California Ocean Alliance, for example. When we have scientists on board, the only thing that we ask from them is to give or to add value to our guests' experience on board, so to engage with them, to talk about their research projects and so on, and whenever possible to involve our guests in their research, in the data collection, data analysis, or something like that. There can be challenges because due to their permit, they are not allowed to involve guests, so they have to stand in the back. But there is always a way to bridge that gap and have them maybe collect the samples by themselves, but then prepare them for storage with the guests or with the audience and so on. But other than that, I don't really see any other challenge.
Well, I was referring to indeed the point you made. That's also something I came across, but also insurance. I've sometimes heard, but also, yeah, citizen science. If we don't watch out and handle it carefully, and I think you do, is of course also bringing, let's say tourists, let's say closer to nature, for example, more up close and personal, and also I've heard also sometimes, let's say, indeed worries about sampling and things like
But
that.
again, we only sample if we are permitted. We don't take samples on land unless we have a permit, wherever a permit is required. In Antarctica, sampling from the water column does not require a permit. So we do our research before we tell our science coordinators to go sample everywhere.
Which is the procedure to ask permission? Because there are permits.
Can you use the microphone?
So this is a very interesting point in which way you approach to ask the permission. Because I believe that in the SCAR there are for the operational programs, there are very strict rules,
yes.
etc. You are with same rules, same line of request for permission?
Yes, so whenever we have scientists on board that are sampling, they have to provide their own permits from their national authority. So
in Antarctica, this means then the scientists need to approach the programs, the national Antarctic programs, to ask the permission?
yes. Yes, we cannot give those permits. Those permits have to be asked for by the research to their permitting authority.
Thank you. I suspect